Hello, everyone. Martin Chera here from Express Capital Financing, my son Max Chera, and we got Nicole Andrews here from APP, right? Am I saying the right name?
FastApp.
FastApp, correct. So all here to educate our, investors, our clients, all types of real estate investors on here to educate, provide resources, tools, so everybody could help, either grow or continue with their wealth. So with that said, before we get started, I just want to make sure everybody knows we are not CPAs. We are not tax consultants. We are not attorneys. We are simply a lender. And the other company, FastApp, is an appraisal company. So please seek your own advice or counsel from your attorney, your CPA, whoever you use to structure your deals, so we can move, so everybody can do their deals successfully and happily.
Absolutely.
So,
thanks for having me, you guys.
You're welcome. So Max, want to get started? Go ahead.
Absolutely. So, we met Nicole not too long ago in Austin, and we were having a really good discussion about appraisals, kind of, where our market was as far as them. If anyone here is an investor, they probably had a little bit of a delay. Nicole, you want to just go in a little bit, I guess, into what's happening right now, or what happened in the appraisal market and kind of where it's going?
Absolutely. So due to obviously the decrease in rate and the increase in conventional business, upticking the amount of orders going to appraisers were slammed. And here we sit with appraisers as everybody knows, a declining market with appraisers that are all towards retirement age and not enough new blood out there. So it caused a real problem with the swing, causing appraisers to be very behind, and just, taking work that they probably shouldn't have taken, if I'm being perfectly honest. And probably your appraisal management companies that did better are the ones that paid a little bit higher fee to their appraisers. As we know, you guys' market is such that you guys are willing to pay a little bit more. So I think that was where people recovered okay, was where they were willing to pay appraisers. Money talks, as we all know. Come on, it is the reality of the situation. And so if you paid your appraiser more, you probably got your appraisal quicker. Appraisers were working weekends, long nights. I know I've been an appraiser for 25 years. I was here during the incline of the market in 2006. I lived through one other one. I won't talk about that, but honestly, I worked until 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. I overpromised and underdelivered on several, files, and it is what it is. Appraisers are going to do this. It's the appraisers that take way too much and then can't deliver for weeks on end or make excuses because, right, hard money is the more difficult. Your ARV, your as is, they've got to do 2 values. It's a property that they got to the door and all of a sudden they're looking at this property and it's complete rehab. They have to make up cost to cure on so many things they can't even believe it. And what do? Your easy conventional order that's, they can get the comps, it's easy, let me do it. They can do 5 of those in comparison to this one appraisal that's going to stick them a little bit. So you guys got pushed behind a little bit. So there's a little bit about why things were a little bit delayed. It wasn't, no excuses. They shouldn't overpromise, but it is what it is.
For sure. Well, if you're an investor right now, the fact that the conventional market, or if you want to call it the retail market, is hot, that's also a really good thing. Obviously, that's why we're getting our higher ARVs and all that, and why our, it translates, right? We have to be both on the appraisal side for our hard money. We also have to get an appraisal when we sell our property, because that buyer is most likely going to be an FHA or a first-time home buyer or using conventional mortgage. So, do you want to elaborate a little bit, guess, on the process of an appraisal? Like, what is kind of the steps that are taken, and what do clients have to know about their appraisal?
Probably the number one thing that I can say is people think with an appraisal, they need to clean up their house and make it tidy and different things like this. The reality of the situation is it's not really that important. Appraisers don't care if your kids' toys are on the floor or if your bathroom towels aren't hung properly. What they care about is that you don't have any rips in your carpet and they don't go through a door and it falls off the hinge. So don't worry about those type of things and be ready. Be available for an appraiser. I mean, during COVID, one of the things that I think has appraisers really frustrated is that people aren't ready for them. Have your doors opened up, your lights on, so they don't have to touch everything and do all of that, and have information available for them. If they truly, you have difficult comps in your neighborhood and you know that, and that can be something that can be helpful to the appraiser, and maybe not necessarily hand the appraiser the comparables, but there's nothing wrong with talking about your market and what you know is difficult in your market. As an investor, which most of you guys as clients are, you know your market, you live there. Appraisers are supposed to be geo-competent and they're supposed to know the market as well. But it doesn't hurt to tell them things like, I know that this comp down the street sold and it backs an aqueduct and the smell from that property is awful. And this is the reason why it sold 50,000 less than the market is in this area. So have actual facts. You know, everybody always comes to me and they say, Nicole, my appraisal came in low. This is bull. You know what? And, you know, the reality is, yeah, we all know appraisers have opinions too. Do they have time to call every single agent? No. So give them the inside information that you know. Make it, maybe don't hand them the comparables, but hand them the information to the best comps around. That's really going to help the appraiser out and make it easier for the appraiser and help you, you know?
You know, and Nicole, just to add to what you're saying, I tell my investors, if they're working with a realtor and the realtor's got good comps and knows that good information, let your realtor be there on site or give the information to the investor so he can convey it to the appraisal. Like I said, he doesn't know all the information. He's doing his homework as best as he can, but a realtor has all that information handy and she knows her market very well.
Right. She's basically the inside trader, right?
Exactly.
She's the one who
exactly.
sold those properties. She talks to her colleagues and in her marketplace, and she's going to have all the inside information. She's going to know that, you know, the one down on Fifth Avenue, it was a divorce situation and they undersold the property because of this reason. They wanted out. They were mad at each other, whatever it is. She's going to have that type of information that obviously there's no way for the appraiser to know this information. So if you've got 3 low comps in one given area, honestly, that makes the market, right? So if there's reasoning for it and you can say all 3 of these comp had extenuating circumstances, then, you know, provide that information to the appraiser at the door.
Right. So basically what you're saying is an investor, whether they're buying it for an investment or their primary home, they could contest an appraisal and show proof. Correct?
Absolutely. But more than contesting,
Right.
come on, you know, do a little homework up front. If you're certain of things, there's nothing wrong with providing information, not a value to the appraiser, but information. Yeah, I mean, if you say my place is worth $1 million and the comps only support 600,000, sorry, folks, it's not happening. But if you provide information why the comps in that neighborhood are slightly on the low side right now due to extenuating circumstances on 3 or 4 sales that recently happened. And you know for a fact that 6 months prior, there was sales that were going in the 800 range, and now all of a sudden they're down in the 7 or even 650 range. Explain this, have the information, be on top of it, because then doing a reconsideration on the backside is obviously a little bit more difficult than if you provide the information up front, because you look like a bitter, you know, sale, and that's not what you want to do. And then the appraiser's already done his analysis, he's done his report, he's done what he thinks is his homework, and to change his mind after the fact is a little bit more difficult. It's much easier if on the front side you're providing him with solid information, and on the back side, you submit this reconsideration, right? You submit these extra sales. And the biggest mistake I would say that most people make in that is they provide the appraiser with things that are not comparable. And if anybody wants to talk about a list of things that's comparable, I'm always willing to talk to people. You know, you go outside of what in our industry is considered like a 20% range of anything, and that's not considerable anymore. You know, excuse me, comparable, and then they can't consider it anymore. You know, you have a 1,500 square foot property and you're bringing all 2,000 comps when the appraiser had plenty of 1,500 square foot homes. We all know what you're doing. You know, appraisers aren't dumb. They know exactly what you're trying to do. You're bringing in the 2,000 square foot home, which is more popular in your market area. And yeah, it sold for 150,000 more. We all know why, because it's a better property. And somebody who wants to buy a 2,000 square foot home doesn't want to buy a 1,500 square foot home. So it's going to be different.
Gotcha. I just want to say to the folks on this webinar, by the way, any questions, please put them in the Q&A. We will answer it 15 minutes before this webinar is over. We'll get to hopefully everybody's great questions so we can answer them for you. So you're saying before that it's kind of slowed down. The rates were, you know, extremely low. There was a lot of fluctuation of orders. People looking to buy, people looking to sell, people upsizing, downsizing. So there was a great demand for appraisals being ordered. And now you're saying it kind of slowed down. If I heard correctly before.
Absolutely.
It kind of slowed down.
You know,
okay.
with uptick of rate in the conventional world, things are going to start slowing down a little bit more.
Okay.
It's
Got it.
a good thing. It's not a good thing. None of us want to, right?
Slow down in business, but the volume is slowed down. Okay, awesome. So just to let the folks know, so what is the value of getting an appraisal? I mean, lenders want to see it to protect us on the deal, to protect us on the loan. It's our money being lent out. I always tell my investor, not only does it secure us, it secures them, but maybe you could help them to, like, what protects them on that, not just the value. Give some more insight on what protects them on getting an appraisal.
Well, I mean, obviously the appraisal is your equity. It's their equity as well. So people always come to me in a purchase market and say things like, hey, Nicole, you know, this didn't come in at purchase price. Isn't the market based on the purchase price? And that's typically a true statement. But there are times where a buyer's overexcited and maybe an agent listed it 50,000 high, and the borrower goes in and wants to pay for it because it happens to have everything that they want. But does the market support it? And if the market doesn't support it, the reality of the situation is we're doing the borrower an injustice by evaluating it over what the market supports, because then he's going to go, or she's going to go to refinance the property 6 months down the road. And what's going to happen? It's not going to appraise for that 20% that they're looking for an increase, because they overbought and now they've got to wait out the market. So, you know, this is a typical problem in protecting people that don't want to be protected, right? Because they just want it to go smooth.
So it's fair to say that an appraisal not only protects the lender, it protects the investor to make sure that he's buying it for the purchase price or that true value.
Absolutely.
Right. Okay.
So
Great.
that brings up actually another great question of the market that we're in actually today, right? So if you look at certain markets like New Jersey, Long Island, we're noticing that investors that, well, this was even before COVID, right? We've noticed that they bought it with a certain sales price that they were anticipating. And since COVID, they actually got more than they were expecting, right? So we're in an increasing market. How do appraisers handle increasing markets? Do they see the
Fluctuation
rate and say like, oh, it's growing at 3%, or are they just still basing off of comps?
I mean, typically what supports the market is the comparables. So yes, to answer your question directly, it's the comps that are going to support the market. But can an appraiser in an increasing market take a comparable that maybe sold within a week, slightly outside of the immediate market, but that's still in the same neighborhood, to try to support an increase? Absolutely. But they can't go very far outside of that increase. It has to be supported. During 2008, the Fannie Mae came up with the 1004 MC form. I'm not sure if either one of you are familiar with it. So this is and it proves the increase on the property. So the 1004 MC, and of course it's fading out of my brain what it's called. If somebody here can maybe remember what it's called, market addendum, that's what it's called, sorry. The market addendum form, which was developed by Fannie for this exact purpose. It's to show the support of the increasing market and put all of the data on that form so that the appraiser can say it's an increasing market and then give a slight adjustment for SLPL, which is to show the increasing market is happening and make that slight adjustment for that. Again, they still have to support that by their comparables, but they can prove it if they have comps within the neighborhood still that can show this slight increase, and they can go up 5% based on this form and comparables.
So you don't want to be the first one to increase the value, but it's okay to be the second or third.
Not necessarily true. Say you're in a beach community, like you just said, Long Island, and there's a neighborhood that's increasing. If you're the first one in, you might actually be better off, because you can see a market increase $100,000 in a 2-month period of time. Quite frequently, I've seen this happen. So if you're the first one in and it increases 100,000, guess what? Your property is going to be worth a lot more. You're not going to be paying that 100,000 increase. So don't always be afraid of that. And that's why I tell appraisers, like, be smart about it. If there's an increasing market and you can feel this, you can see it. That's why it's so important to have appraisers that are geo-competent. In my opinion, this is like one of the bases for things that I'm pretty passionate about, is that you have an appraiser within that market area that knows the market. And don't anybody be fooled by that. An appraiser is geo-competent means they have to live within a certain miles of the property, because I know appraisers that grew up in markets and they're great appraisers in that market, and maybe their office address is in Brooklyn and they've lived in Manhattan their whole life. Come on, they're going to know this market. So don't be fooled by that too.
Gotcha.
And
Just
go ahead.
Yeah. No, I mean, what is your input on the investor or that home buyer being present with the appraisal guy?
I absolutely love this idea, Martin. I tell people all the time, be active, just like what I kind of said in the first part of the discussion. Like, there's nothing wrong with bringing information and being there and being available. If you're the one who knows the market, why wouldn't you be there to, to discuss the property and what's going on? Don't be the annoying homeowner that goes around and shows everything you're crown molding. I mean, it's not that important. Sorry, it's not. Most houses have crown molding these days, and most properties have granite countertops these days. It's not that important. So you don't need to go around and say that you have Italian marble that was imported from Italy. Appraisers can pick this stuff up. They look at properties all day long. You don't have to point these things out. But if there's other data that can be, helpful, absolutely, you should be there and you should meet the appraiser. I hate agents. Well, I don't hate agents. I don't hate it. But I will say, if you give a lockbox and you priced your property aggressively and then you give the lockbox to the appraiser, I mean, you should probably be there and explain why you did what you did. It's just my opinion.
So let me ask you this now. So let's just say now I'm a homeowner. I'm an investor. I did a couple deals on this block. I know this market backwards and forwards, and I want to share some information with my appraiser. How do I do that?
Be there, meet them at the property, talk to them about it. I mean, data's great. Everybody always says, well, I handed the comparables to the appraiser. He should have saw what I was saying, this, that, and the other. Well, maybe you handed them to him and he already had comparables, and comparables are what they are. In that neighborhood, he may have saw something different than you saw, but if you're not there to tell him what it is that you're thinking, then, I mean, it's bad on you.
So communicate. Works for everybody, no?
Absolutely, 100%. Appraisers are humans too, just like we say about doctors, right? And
I want everybody to take note what Nicole said, because when you're working with an AMC company, they got your best interest at heart, quick, easy, transparent. I got clients who tell me, Marty, I need the appraisal back in your desk in 2 days. And that's where an appraisal management company is going to have your best interest getting it back. So if it means paying more to get more, that's what everybody needs. $100 or $200 more to get your deal, to get it funded, to get it closed, and for you to make your ARV. We're making the profit $200 or $300, whatever the cost is, to get that expedited, appraisal being done is nothing, because it's not going to affect your return on the investment or the profits. It's only going to make you a happier person at the end of the day.
true statement,
So,
Mark. I
I'm
mean,
sorry?
really, like, especially during a competitive market like this, you want to be above everybody else, pay a $200 rush fee and get your appraisal back in a timely manner.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, look, hard money lenders, we all get it back within, I think 48 hours. Is that right, Max? 48 hours, 2 or 3 days?
Yeah.
2 or 3 days. And, so we work with FastApp and all that, and that's happens. But I got borrowers that need it back. And, I got borrowers that need it done on a Saturday or Sunday, where it's on our desk on a Monday. And that's where communication comes in with a lender to an appraisal company and an appraisal to a lender. And by the way, we know what they want. They know what we want. So working with one type of a vendor that has the relationship of a title, an appraisal, and a lender, it only behooves everybody to be using them, because they got your best interest at heart. Everybody wants to close a deal and make you happy. So that's what it's all about.
Absolutely. So you mentioned something really important that I want to touch on a little bit. You mentioned an AMC, right? So let's, Nicole, do you mind just sharing with everybody like what an AMC is and why where the value is behind that?
So an appraisal management company is what we are. What FastApp is an appraisal management company. And I think probably the most important thing about that is that if you go to an appraiser directly, you're not going to get the value in having the report reviewed. You have a team of people behind you. If an appraiser goes missing, we're there to get a new appraisal done, do whatever we need to do to make sure that happens. You have a team of, you have a chief appraiser. You have a team of people who know the appraisers, are going to the best appraisers in the market area, because we have those long time relationships with those appraisers that we've built over time. So I think there's a lot of value in an appraisal management company. I mean, who wants to be going to Montana and trying to find the best appraiser in that area? And yeah, probably you say, well, in Brooklyn, I know the appraisers, I know who works there. But we have value there too. I mean, our office is in Brooklyn, so of course we have value there. But no, we have long-term relationships with appraisers who are willing to do things for us that maybe you only give them one order a month. Well, we're feeding their family. We're giving them orders all the time. So they're willing to, do things for us that they might not be willing. It's like anything else in life, supply and demand, right? We're keeping these. Yep.
Service
Absolutely.
is what it's all about.
Yep. Absolutely. Thank you, Martin. And that's what we're about.
100%.
Quality service, turn times, FastApp.
I like that. You should what do you call it? Get that, trademark that.
Logo, trademark.
Oh, perfect. So, and beyond that also, I just want to add in there, there's also times where, personally speaking, I may, order an appraisal. I want to know value on something before I go so far into it. And my normal guy might not even answer me or something like that. Right. So that's why it's important to really, have someone behind you where no matter what the scenario is, you can get the appraisal done. You can rely on them. You know what you're getting, and they know who they're sending out to you. We had a question come in. I'd love to get it answered actually from one of our guests from Yilvi. I hope I pronounced that right. So he's asking, which method of valuing the property does FastApp use? Are they using comparative analysis, reproduction cost, or capitalization of income?
We can do all three. It's the, appraisers determine the way that they evaluate a property. Traditionally in this market in the US, it's a comparable analysis that's done. Income analysis is done more on your investment property where they need a cap rate and they need all of those things. But an appraiser can do all three methods to do an appraisal, but widely accepted, obviously, is comparable analysis.
And I'd just like to add, Nicole and Max, and everybody listening, when you're using an AMC and a hard money lender or a bank or a non-bank lender, and let's just say you're using some other lender whom used an AMC and that investor doesn't want to use that lender anymore for whatever reason, an AMC is very easy, the appraisal to transfer over to another lender. Am I correct?
I mean, it's in the private money world, the answer is yes, because I mean, FastApp
Regulations, insurance, and things like that makes it easier for us to take another appraisal from an appraisal management company versus some single entity guy that we never heard of. That's what I'm trying to convey.
Absolutely. And this
Right.
is a true statement. As far as the
Right.
private money world, this is very true. In the
Right.
forward conventional world, it's not as true, because Fannie requires a new scope of work for any new lender. But in the private money world, as long as FastApp is approved, which we are with almost all of the large investors, then you've got no problem if that's, what you're doing, your Churchill, your, Civic. So as long as your appraisal management company is approved with all of the large investors, you'll have no problem switching the appraisal from one client to the next.
Exactly. Good. Okay. Do you recommend also, Nicole, investors bring a home inspector to the home too, besides an appraiser? Because some people don't understand the difference between the two. So maybe you could elaborate on that.
So a home inspector is actually looking to see whether or not your water pumps correctly. They're going in your attic to make sure there's not, seepage somewhere in the basement. Your things like that. An appraiser is looking for the value of the home and making sure that what you have in your home is similar to the other comparables that they've already selected or going to select. Your home inspector is really looking for structural things. They're looking to make sure that it doesn't look like the slab is cracked and the home is uplifting and things like that. And yes, I do think there's value in a home inspector. I mean, there's things that obviously none of us know. I mean, I've lived in my house for 17, 18 years, and something was going on and somebody said something to me constructive. And I said, "Oh my God, is that what's going on there?" And he said, "Yeah, it is what's going on there." And I was like, okay. And I'm an appraiser. I've been an appraiser for years, but I don't necessarily know all the technical things of a home, what can be causing things. That's what they're trained to do. Just like appraisers are trained for value and to see, what the equity is in your home. So yes, I do think that it's great to have a home inspector.
Awesome.
Now, I have a question, Nicole. So can an investor use FastApp themselves to get an appraisal? Hopefully the value is good enough, and now go to their lender, hopefully Express Capital Financing, and get it financed. So can they do a little bit of the opposite instead of a lender ordering the appraisal for them?
No, because it's not considered independent. So, and the reason why is even though we're an appraisal management company, Fannie doesn't consider it independent, because they want the client to order the appraisal, which actually the bank or the lender is the client. The borrower is really not the client. And so they don't really look favorably upon that. Can you go directly to an appraisal management company for certain things, like to get an appraisal for taxation purposes? Yes. But for most reasons, your lender has to be the one to order the appraisal.
Okay. And you're referring to hard money as well, too.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
If you go out and you pick an appraisal management company, and they're not approved with the investor, you've wasted your money. So it's best for you to go directly to the lender and let the lender decide which appraisal management company you want to go through.
Okay.
Absolutely. So sometimes I'll tell you where the scenario I have that a borrower may order their own appraisal is usually in the scenario where they're about to spend a lot more money on due diligence and they want to get a clear idea of where they are first, right? So they may still order their own appraisal. They may know that they can't transfer it. They might not know which lender they want to use. They're still kind of figuring things out. If they did order it, let's just say, and then it came back to us, is there a way they could that it could be what's the word? Not renewed, restructured,
Transferred.
So in certain cases, that can be done. It's a very good question, because I've had this happen before. And so in certain cases, there has to be a new scope of work for it to be independent. But basically what we'll do is, if the appraiser is currently on our list and they're a current rotating appraiser, we can go to them and we can say, Carlos, you did this, 2 months ago, and we now are getting them coming to us and they want to do an appraisal in the new client's name. So it wouldn't be in the borrower's name any longer. It would be in the client's name, Express Capital. And then we would reorder the appraisal through them. And they usually will give you a significant discount because obviously they've just done it 2 months ago. But as an independent evaluation, they obviously have to look at the comparables again, and there could be new comparables that are in the market that they would have to evaluate and reevaluate the value of the property at that time.
Understood. Just a follow-up question from Yilvi also. So he's asking, he was one that asked a little bit before about the different methods of appraising a property. So he wants to know if you were to deliver all three methods, is the service fee higher? I would assume yes, but I'll let you answer that.
Well, so it's a complicated question because per USPAP, all appraisers have to develop all three methods to determine which method they want to use. So they're supposed to develop all three methods, but do they go through the detail then of completing all three methods? No. And like I said, widely accepted is the comparable analysis. So yes, there would be an additional fee if the scope of work was for all three methods to be developed in their entirety and reported. Does that make sense to you as a layman? Okay.
No, that makes perfect sense. Because again, obviously, when you guys are appraising a property, you have to decide what's the highest and best use for the property. Is it going to be A, B, or C?
Good job. I'm impressed.
I've looked at a lot of appraisals. I don't know a close amount as you know, but I've looked at enough to know a little bit.
Most people don't know HBU though, so I was impressed slightly there.
What was it? HBU? I don't know what that stands for.
Highest and best use.
Oh, there you go. So obviously, when you're doing that, now you just have to understand that if we're going to develop this in entirely, because if you're doing a capitalization rate, you're going to include also in there like, hey, these other properties in this market get around the 7% cap, and you're at a 7 would bring you to this value, and so on and so forth. So that makes perfect sense to me. Now to answer Yilvi's follow-up question, which she's saying which method the lender wants to use for the best outcome. Most of the time, I'd probably say 90 to 99% of the time, lenders are going to want to see the comparative approach, right? We want to see what other properties have sold for. And the basic reason to that, if you ask me, it could probably be, debatable amongst different people. But if you ask me, it's probably along the lines of that you would want to have, what if this is no longer the best use and you have to sell it as the property and it's just the structure?
Absolutely.
Right?
Most universal way and ease of looking at it as well. So like cap rate is a lot more difficult, and it's not necessarily, what's the word I wanted to use? I apologize. Like, not valid, but there's another word I would like to use, but it's not coming to me. But it's, it's a little bit, the analysis is more difficult. So of course, it's not as widely accepted because of this, because if it's a little bit more difficult, maybe the appraiser makes a mistake on that, right? So whereas with comparables, what it sold for, it's pretty straightforward. So the determination is much easier. And yes, cost analysis might show that the properties were 900,000, but the comparables only support 600,000, right? Or the cap rate is such that it shows the properties worth 1.2, but the comparables out there only show 6. Well, what's a person, willing to pay for that? That's our market, is the people that are willing to pay for the property.
Right. It's the first thing they teach us in real estate school. Market value equals the highest price a buyer will pay and the lowest price a seller will take.
Right.
For property.
Ooh, look at you.
That's awesome. So are there any in those scenarios, I guess, where you have a property that just really cash flows very well and it's in an area that might not sell as well? Is there anything that could be brought to the attention or that could potentially get you that higher value, or is it just it is what it is?
No, the comparables are what they are. And until the market increases, I mean, the reality is that that's where you stand.
Right.
So,
Have you ever seen a market where it's so investor friendly that literally the comps show based off of cap rates?
no.
What was the question, Max? Say it again. The
Has
comp show.
a market, and guys, this is an important thing. The reason I'm asking this, I kind of knew the answer, but I wanted to show something out of it. Have you ever seen a market where the comps changed with the cap rates? Meaning that if my property is cash flowing really, really well, I'm going to sell for more than this other guy because there's so many investors there. But what it comes down to is investors try to find areas where there's a lot of people that live there too, right? We're not only looking for places that there's investors. And part of that is going to make the concept of the comps so valid or true, because at the end of the day, you're in an area where there's people surviving and living a daily life, and that's the values they put on the properties.
Right.
Does that make sense with that, or should I clarify?
I mean, you did to me, but I mean, like we said.
So, I mean, so just to elaborate, Max, what you're saying is to a homeowner, they'll pay more because it's going to be their lifetime livable home versus an investor. Is that what you're saying?
Not necessarily. What I was trying to say is that when you're looking for an investment property, you're finding a property amongst homeowners, right? So there's 7 properties on a block. You're choosing one. The other 6 are homeowners or could be an investor. Doesn't really matter. The point is that the comps don't change based on how much money you make out of the property. The comps change based on how much this property could sell for. Because I could buy, if you might want to sell it to me for 900,000, but the house next door is a single lady living there that's going to move and she only needs 600,000. Why would I go buy that 900,000? Right? So you built something which is really good, but you have to understand at the end of the day, your structure, your real estate is your value.
Well, and be careful, because what you're leaning into talking about is an over improvement. So in many markets, people over improve their home, and investors tend to lean on that. Does the market support the Italian marble floors flown in from Italy, or does the market support linoleum floors? And so it's very important for an investor to remember what the market supports, because you can go in and you can deck a property out, you can put heated floors in, you can, put brick all over the outside, you can put a swim up pool with a bar on the outside. And all of those things cost a lot of money, but does the market support all of those things? Some neighborhoods, absolutely, it would support that. But in other neighborhoods, absolutely not. It will not support that. So it's very important.
Unless you're the first guy on the block willing to take that risk and be the creator.
True.
For sure.
Very
I mean,
true.
I'll tell you, I had a similar situation where we were selling a property. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because you mentioned the neighborhoods, right? Like how one neighborhood might support it, the other one might not. So he built a beautiful property. Since 1992 he started. So as old as I am, that house was being worked on. And it turned into this meticulous project where it was an art piece at the end of the day.
Right.
It was featured on Good Morning America. Like, it was a very beautiful property. There was no question about how beautiful it was. And his reasoning was, well, hey, 3-4 miles out, there are properties very similar to mine. Now, when you start to sell a property in one area versus another, and now you start competing against neighborhoods, right? Where one neighborhood may have a better school district, one neighborhood might have a better transportation or whatever it may be, right? So some people still want to be someplace better than others, right? So that's the next thing of over improvement. Do you want to build something that's comparable to something nearby, or something that's pretty far away where now you're competing against Brooklyn versus Queens?
Well, and you just answered your own question, so to speak, because in different neighborhoods, you can't use comparables in different neighborhoods to support one neighborhood. And a neighborhood is defined by all of the things you just recognized, which is, readily available transportation, certain school districts, maybe the amenities of that neighborhood, fine restaurants, different things like that. And all of that, just like somebody who would buy in Manhattan probably wouldn't buy in Brooklyn or Queens, And so all of the things that are available to them in that marketplace makes that neighborhood. And when appraisers talk about neighborhood, that's what they're really talking about. They're talking about an actual neighborhood. And those neighborhoods have different things. You go Manhattan, since we're in New York, I can say, or talking to people that are in, the New York market. So do you think the same person would buy a place in East Side that would buy a place in, West Side or downtown or Soho? Probably not.
Right.
Everybody who buys in the different neighborhoods, and that's a very good example, is looking for different things. And maybe somebody who wants to improve a property in Soho might go more modern, whereas somebody in East Side might want something a little bit French, more, more traditional property. And so you could spend all of the money in the world on an interior of a property on things that are French influenced. And down in Soho, probably somebody wouldn't be so happy with that, right? So you have to constantly be remembering these things as an investor. And I guess we're talking to your investing market, people that will be coming to you guys and telling them, be very careful of these type of things because, the market only supports certain things and you need to know your market to know what would be supported.
And I'd just like to add a comment over here. So when people are investing, whether you're doing a flip, what is the appraisal looking for? We're not really looking for the as is, we're looking for an after repair value. So when you're using a lender and we're giving the AMC, the purchase contract, and we're giving the scope of work, that appraisal person is looking for that supposed after repair value once that investor spends that money based upon the comps. So maybe you want to clarify that a little bit, Nicole, so everybody can get a gist of what I'm saying.
Can you ask the question one more time? I
So
apologize.
it's not really a question, just I'm making a comment to flippers out there that, we're not a Fannie Mac or Fannie or Freddie lender that's just taking the as is because it's a strict purchase. We're going by what's called an after repair value. We're not going by the as is. We're not really going so much by the purchase price. We're looking at just an after repair value. If the person is buying it for $100 and putting in $50,000, you as an AMC, you're looking for the purchase contract for that 100 plus the 50 scope of work. So so your appraisal guys can determine that true after repair value, because hard money lenders are only looking for that after repair value. We're not looking for the as is whatsoever. So that's what I'm trying to convey.
And I mean, probably one of the things I'd like to say on that and elaborate a little bit is that when you're looking at a sale and then you get your defined bid, and people too often will say redo kitchen, or it needs to be completely defined with what you're going to do to upgrade the kitchen. Are you completely destroying the kitchen and then you're going to put in granite countertops? Are you going to do new cupboards? What are you going to do to that kitchen? And then that will help to determine, that's a part of basically the scope of work and determining what the value of the home is going to be after the repairs are completed.
Exactly.
Which gives you your ARV.
Yeah, we're very thorough with our investors. So we ask a lot of questions, sometimes in the beginning of qualification or even during underwriting, because we want to make sure that the ARV comes into what that investor is doing. Otherwise, he's not going to be successful. He's not going to be profitable. Why would we lend him the money? And he's only going to be, upset and upset. So when a lender is asking for the scope of work, we're asking for, because we want to make sure that that ARV is true for your success to be completed, to make your profit, to be happy, and of course for us to finally fund your deal. And that's what it's all about.
Absolutely.
So when a lender's asking questions, they're good questions. They're there for everybody to be, to be successful and happy. We're not asking to waste people's time and bust their chops. We're there for their best interest at heart. Okay, anything else you want to elaborate, Max, on?
I would love to actually touch one more topic, which is we talked about the over improvements, right? Now the under improvements, where I get this a lot. I'll get someone will send me over 3-4 comps of the nicest property in an area and say like, "Hey, this is my value," right? Does that work? Because I want to answer it.
I'm sorry, I missed it.
So
You're talking about under improved properties.
right. So a lot of the times we'll have someone send out comps to us and they'll be like, "Hey Max, look, these are the 3 properties that we're comping, and they are drop dead gorgeous properties that were upgraded from top to bottom or something of that sort." And then their property, their scope of work might be very, very light, right?
Okay, gotcha. I apologize.
No
Somebody was
worries.
to me and I was distracted. So absolutely. I mean, there's a situation where exactly as you stated, it's an under improvement. So we're not gonna comp out a property to a property that is nicer than the subject. That's why, on the form you have C2, you have C3, you have C4, and you have C5. And most lenders aren't going to even look at a C5 or lend on a C5. There is a C6 as well, and there's C1. C1 is a brand new property. C2 is probably you're within 10 years or you completely redid the property, which some of your investors do. But that's like from the ground up. It's plumbing, it's everything. C3 is probably your completely redone property, but not, high end everything. So you can have an under evaluation where, obviously the property is, you're putting linoleum in and everybody in the neighborhood has tile floors. So you need to know your market again so that you don't under improve your property so that it is comparable to the marketplace. Does that answer your question?
Yeah,
or statement, I should say, not really a
yeah,
question.
that's right. That was more of a statement. I kind of just wanted to bring it up, make sure everyone kind of got a chance to hear it, because a lot of people, their first time maybe running comps, maybe, it's their first deal they're working on, and they're looking out there for properties, right? And they're saying, well, if I'm renovating my property, it's going to look just as good as this one, right? But unfortunately, it's all about the amount of money we're going to spend and put into it. So that brings me to my next question is, sometimes you have clients that are contractors, right? They save a lot of money on their work rather than somebody who is living in a house and going to do the work themselves.
I mean, this is great. No, because the bid is about
spending.
No, the bid is about what the quality of the construction is, not about the money that's spent to do it. That's why typically bids are exactly that. It's about what you're putting in the property. So it's, are there hardwood doors? Is there, what type of material are you using? Not what it's going to cost you to then install that door. Whereas if you get a framer who's, an artist and he wants to, I don't know, do what the doors, I've seen crazy bids before, or I've been like, who is this guy? And he's some type of specialty woodworker who's like doing, I don't know, crazy things with the door. We even do that with everything, but it doesn't matter. So then, you have a contractor who is familiar with framing and installing that door. He did it. It costs $0 to install it, so there's your differences, but it's about the quality of the material, not what it costs to install those materials.
Right. So guys, for all of you guys that are writing out your scope of works, right, make sure that you're spending most of your time. Well, obviously you want to make sure your pricing is right and your dollars and cents. I'm not saying to ignore it, but spend your time on the actual description so that the appraiser knows what you're doing to the property, your lender knows what you're doing to the property. And this way, everything's very straightforward and clear. It doesn't leave room for error, and everyone's always going to be on the same page that way. I want to open up some time for people to ask their questions, guys. We have the question and answer box on the bottom, or use the chat box. Either or is fine. bring in your questions. We'd love to hear it, and we want to answer them for you. Dad, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I just want to, say that when you're submitting deals to my company, Express Capital Financing, we'll provide you with the scope of work template. We can help you fill it in so you have a better understanding, so you'll be successful on that appraisal. And then, of course, when it comes to the draw period.
Absolutely. We love to help.
And we're, FastApp is a partner of Express Capital, would love to help as well. If anybody needs a determination on what can help so that the appraiser understands what the actual scope is and the materials that are needed, by all means, we can help you with that determination as well.
Right. And just like I said before, folks, it's very important when you're working with one vendor and they're connected and they got a relationship. So we know what a AMC company such as FastApp wants. They know what we want. And the title companies also, I'm sure they could recommend, we could recommend. It's important, but this way, the most important thing is a quick, safe, quick closing. That's all what it's about. And, nobody wants to get delayed, have any legal costs, legal delays, legal issues, making their sellers happy and their wholesalers happy. So that's what it's all about. So having that relationship with a AMC/lender/title is very important to the success of every investor out there.
We all have one goal in mind, and that's to close loans, right? And I think sometimes people lose sight of that. They think like we're here to hurt them in some way, and we're not. So reach out to resources and utilize those resources to help yourself, because if you're not familiar with something, probably somebody in our industry is, and we can help you with that.
Yeah. I mean, look, there are clients that want to save $50 or $100 sometimes. And I say, well, listen, if there's a problem with your appraisal, you're going to call up, you're going to spend the time, or do you want to be more successful in what you do is buying, rehabbing, and flipping? Or do you want to be disputing the appraisal and all that kind of stuff? So an AMC will handle all of that. Am I correct, Nicole? Tell me.
Absolutely. 100%.
Great. Okay. All right, Max, hit them with the questions.
So we're still waiting for some questions to come in. I think Nicole was very thorough in explaining things, but I actually have.
I would make a good teacher.
You would be a great teacher. So I actually had a question that came to me for the experienced guys. So some investors now they work like a warehouse, right? They have a car coming in, a car going out at all given times. But now a lot of the times when they're doing their renovations, they're not deviating from what they do because they're always in the same market. I'm always investing in Newark. So I'm always putting in my white tile backsplash. I'm putting in my white cabinets, the same ones from Home Depot, number 13355, right? They have their stuff is very templated. Is that something that over time you as the appraiser could kind of understand from them better and help them with their understand their scope of works to be more accurate in a sense? Or am I asking that bad?
I mean, that's really more about just knowing your market, because, if you're talking about row homes or you're talking about townhouses, single family residence, detached, every property in that area is probably going to need something different than the next. So I would just say, don't get locked into anything. Know your property, know your market, and know what the people in that area. I mean, I could say the best thing that I would tell you is go to your agents in the area, because they know what people in any given neighborhood want, right? Because they work that neighborhood. So if I can give you guys any insider tip information, would be to go to the local agents and somebody that's very familiar with the area and ask what people want out of their property before you go rehabbing. That's what I would say.
Absolutely. Look at what's been done, right? We're not creating a wheel.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe like your dad said, you might be the trendsetter in any neighborhood, right? I mean, something might change. You might put a balcony on that nobody's thought about doing because, it just wasn't, who knows for what reason. But so you can be a trendsetter and maybe step out the box a little bit, but be careful, because then you're going to be considered an over improvement. So we're not trying to completely reinvent the wheel, but stepping outside the box a little bit doesn't hurt anybody.
Correct. And I'd probably advise that for the people that are probably more experienced, right? You don't want to start off
100%.
with something like that. You don't want to have a bad taste in your mouth. So get to know your market well. And when I say well, I mean invest in it already, right? Get to know your tenants. Your tenants are going to tell you a lot about a place as well. And once you feel comfortable enough, that's when you could start going ahead and making some trends. We actually have Jan or Yoon that wants to ask a question. I'm going to allow him to talk so he can tell it to us personally. Awesome. Well, hey, Nicole, we definitely appreciate having you here and really educating us all on appraisals, how it works, and FastApp and how you guys work. It's been very informative. Thank you so much. And
Oh, thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it. It's always fun to banter a little bit and work with a great client. So anything you guys need, I'd love to do this again if your market warrants it. So anything you guys need, you let me know.
we definitely
Awesome.
appreciate it so much, guys.
So Max, are we looking to do this once a month to engage clients about appraisals, FastApp, AMCs?
So we have our webinars that we're hosting. It's going to be a lot more consistent now. We're looking to do it at minimum once a week. So keep an eye out for that. We send out an email blast that goes out once a month. That's going to label out all of our webinars, what we have coming up. So whether we're talking appraisals, construction, we'll talk lending sometimes, right? We want to get all the information about the real estate market and bring it into one place for you guys to be able to listen in, educate yourself as much as possible, and take the next step and take massive action in getting involved. So if there's anything that you guys need, or whether it's a resource, we're very well connected with people such as FastApp and many, many others. Like you've seen us on Real Estate IQ webinars and so on and so forth. So we'd love to share our network with you. Reach out to us. Let us know how we could help. Reach out to Nicole. Let her know how she could help you. We'll make sure that we get everybody connected. And again, thank you everybody for being here tonight.
Well, Max, just say the contact information for her and for us.
Oh, go ahead. So
Yeah. So,
Capital Financing.
okay. So our website is expresscapitalfinancing.com. Our main office number is 718-285-0806. You could also email us at info@expresscapitalfinancing.com. Nicole, you'll say your information, but I just want to add to the folks out there, whether you're a newbie, experienced, a flipper, a commercial developer, you could use us for all types of financing. We're direct, we're nationwide. And yes, FastApp does all types of appraisals, not just necessarily if you're looking to do a flip, if you're looking to buy your own home, if you're looking to buy a commercial property, whatever you're looking to do, an AMC company does it all for you as well too. So Nicole, it's yours.
So I am Nicole Andrews at fastapp.com, or my email, is nicole@fastapp.com. Our website is FastApp. And you can email us or sign up at info@fastapp.com. Our number is 212-221-0200. My personal cell, if you have a question, that's a really good question, don't call me for anything, is 949-510-8364. I'll probably refer you back to Express Capital to do your loan and get me through there. But either way, you can always reach me. Been around a long time, and I'd love to talk to anybody about things going on in the market. So I can't thank you guys enough for hosting tonight. This was great. I love getting information out there. You guys are doing a great job, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Likewise as well. And for the folks, FastApp means not a fast application. It means a fast appraisal. And that's what it's all about.
Very true.
Okay.
And
All
quick
right.
loan service.
Thank you so much. All right. Thank you, Nicole. Thank you, Max. Naftali, if you're listening, thank you so much. Anybody looking for our future webinars, go onto our website, expresscapitalfinancing.com. On the top right, you will see future webinars. Like Maxie said, title, insurance, lawyers, construction companies, developers, everything to get inside education and resources so you can grow your wealth in real estate. And by the way, this is the best time to be buying, because right now with this uncertainty, there's great opportunity to be buying. And whether everybody agrees or not with a recession is when millionaires are made. So this is an opportune time to be in the market.
Couldn't agree more.
Thanks.